Welcome to Bridge to Self, where we spotlight the stories of second and 1.5 generation Black Americans. I'm your host, Ben Arthur. So for this week's episode, I have a compilation for you guys. Some of the best highlights, insights from the second gen Black experience from my guests in the first quarter of 2025. This is my first episode of the second quarter. So for today, I wanted to just kind of look back on some of the best things, some of the best sound bites from my guests to this point this year. The interviews and solo shows will come in later episodes, but for today, wanted to pause a little bit just to take in what has been said to this point in 2025. So without any further ado, let's go.
I'm Nigerian and Ugandan, and like the other kids that look like you, like they might be Black American, you know? So it's like, it's almost like, and like, yeah, there was times where I'm just like, oh, like you almost feel like you have to be like, almost like wearing like different hats essentially.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
I never felt that like I needed to like, quote unquote, like act Black or anything like that. Like, I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that means, first of all. And also like, yeah, like at times people would say like, oh, like you don't act like what do you mean? Like I'm acting like Femi. That's how I act, you know, like I'm act like who I am, you know. It's like I don't feel like I need to like be like shoehorned into like, oh, like I have to talk like this, or I have to do these types of things, or I have to talk like the white kids or anything like that, or like the Asian kids. Like I never felt like I needed to do that. But there were times where there was like that pressure of just like, wow, like it's almost like I need to like kind of like not like curate my personality or do that, but like it's like assimilation. You're kind of assimilating to like different groups of people in school, and like there's certain expectations of what you should be and what you are. But I think the cool thing about like just like based on like how I was raised and like just my overall like self-esteem for myself was that like even though it might not have met what their expectations were for somebody who was Black or of African descent, like they eventually just embraced me because they're like, oh, like that's who he is, that's what he's gonna be, then cool. Like Femi is Femi. Yeah. Like I had a lot of friends and stuff, which was awesome. So I don't think it ever like hindered like my or like kind of like I guess a better way to phrase it is like I don't think it ever like got me down to a space where I'm like in my head like had like an identity crisis or anything like that. But I just felt that like I'm just gonna be who I am, and it was just like one of the things that my dad did say, like it wasn't like a saying, but he would always tell me this. He would say like never compromise who you are. You know, like just like be true to who you are, because at least like you can live with it. Like if you're trying to like be somebody else or do something like that, like you're always gonna kind of regret like going for and looking back on these instances. Like be who you are, don't compromise yourself. I would get like anxiety a little bit. It's like first day of school for sure. When it's like because my last name Abebefe, it's AB. Like that, like it's right at the top. It's right at the top.
Yeah.
So like it's like, all right, we're gonna kick off roll. Happy New Year, everybody! Like, welcome to this school year. Femi Abebefe. Like it's like I'm like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like, Lord have mercy. I'm like, all right,
man, and to kick it off to like to
exactly.
kick off the roll call is crazy.
It kicks off the roll call, and like like I have friends that kind of giggle or whatever because it's like, oh, she butchered your name, whatever, and I'm just like, man, and like. They would obviously get it after like the first couple of days of school, but then now the substitute teacher comes in.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? and now it's just like, man, now I got to go through all of this all over again. Come on, dog. I'm very proud of my name. I would never ever change my name. In fact, I was asked when I started in this business, my first job, I was asked like, hey, like, would you be interested in changing your name? And I said, absolutely not. Like my name is my name. I'm very proud of it, and the people will get to learn to know how to say it, and they did. So, it's like I'm very proud of it and everything, but just a minor inconvenience with growing up with a name that not too many people are familiar with.
That's crazy that they tried to get you to change your name. Like, did they want something simpler or whiter for the air or
I think it was just like something that was like easier to say. And like, they didn't like push hard. It was just like hey, like, do you ever think about changing your name? And I was like, no. That was the end of the conversation, because like that, I think they saw that like, oh, okay, like this guy, like he's not gonna ever change his name, which I never would have. But I think it was just like, oh, like because it's like in Central Oregon was my first job, so like I don't even like I can't remember the last person who was Nigerian that rolled through Bend, Oregon. You know,
essentially all the schools I went to in Kansas City were either like major, primarily Black, or also even my middle and high school were historically Black institutions in Kansas City because To give more context, my high school, Lincoln College Preparatory Academy, opened in 1865. And so for a long time, it was basically one of the only schools that Black students could attend in the city. And so we have that really strong, I would say, culture that actually impacted me greatly because, and growing up, I really felt as a kid in Kansas City, I really just, felt just like as a Black person. And even though I knew like, my parents, were, different from, let's say, like an African American family, for me, I was all around, my African American or Black friends all the time. And so I didn't necessarily like see that difference. And honestly, until I went to college, and because I had the opportunity to be around students who were, directly from the African continent, I think that definitely helped. I would say was a pivotal point in me understanding more of my identity as a Nigerian American. And so I would say like I began gradually to shift more to identifying primarily as Nigerian once I got into college, because I was able to have the opportunity to connect with that more with that side of my identity more broadly. And also because, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to visit Nigeria as a child. I think there was always like a disconnect in a way because, I could hear my parents talking to family members, and I read stuff on TV, or so I see stuff on TV and read stuff in magazines, but it was very different from actually being able to experience Nigeria. And so that definitely had an impact on me as well. Over the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to visit Nigeria, and then also even engage with the Nigerian government on different topics. I'm very active, on like the Nigerian side of Twitter as well. And I also think that's also, providing me a good opportunity actually like to learn more about Nigerian culture, even though it's kind of like a secondhand experience on Twitter. But it's just interesting because I'm seeing tweets and videos and stuff pretty much every day. And I think that it's helped me, understand my identity both as a Nigerian and also someone who grew up in America as well. And so even from when I was in college, I wanted to find a way to understand how to tie my career into working in the African continent somehow, particularly in Nigeria. I think that there's so much flexibility, fortunately, for Nigerian American kids and even Ghanaian American or Kenyan American kids to basically pursue what they want to do. I have classmates I went to college with that are in the arts. Like I have one of my friends is a dancer, and she's choreographed and also danced for top artists like Davido, for example. And also I have friends that that are producing music, and also like making music just in general, and others of course that's gone down similar routes to me that have gone to grad school, med school, etc. And so there's so much flexibility and all the things that we can do. And I think that again, there's so many opportunities that we can pursue. And even if your parents may not be happy with you not being a lawyer, doctor, engineer, I think that because there's so many again avenues to be successful in your own right. I think I've also seen this with a lot of like Nigerian American actors and actresses whose parents finally came around because they saw that their kids were able to be so successful. And I think that because like growing up as Nigerian or Nigerian American, we know that we always have this like mantra, Naija no they carry last. And I think that plays a big role in how we approach basically anything that we do in our different fields. And so we're essentially going to be successful no matter what. And I think that it's really what's important at the end of the day. I didn't speak, Igbo, which was my parents' native language. I primarily spoke English. And then as I went through schooling, I was speaking Latin and Spanish and stuff like that. And I just, maybe, and a lot of people say like they're kind of like they're balancing like two different cultures or consider themselves to be like a third culture. So I definitely felt that because it was very different, from my school environment and like activities environment versus my home environment. But I think for me, like it provided me with, I would say, like a richer experience in a way, because I felt like I had a more, let's say, like worldly view, because I was able to understand, like the immigrant experience in a way, versus just like the not Native American, but just like the general like American experience. And I think again that had like a big impact on me positively. Obviously, like when you see my name, like you know that I'm Nigerian, no matter
Yeah.
what. And obviously, then when people hear what I sound like, okay, they're like, oh, okay, she's also American too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Nigeria, always comes first, and so that's how I would say like I envision my identity as well.
When I was in high school going into college, I just was in a period of, that's around the time when we had some cousins of ours that were murdered in Nigeria. Really just for, Nigeria is one of those places, like a lot of places around the world, where, there may be a period of war that will stop for a period of time, but it kind of always comes back, whether it's like, months or years or, even decades, it's always like there, that tribal, those tribal issues. Right. And so, it was right around the time where two of my cousins had got murdered. And, it's just, I had something that told me like, you should really embrace more of your Nigerian side. I've only been to, the last time I've been back to Nigeria, I was a young kid. I haven't been back actually as an adult, and I really want to go back, but it's always, issues that come up and things of that nature. So it was important for me at that time to just, look, I'm going to just go by Amechi. A lot of people know me still as Brendan, but I want to go by Amechi. So I'm going to just call it Amechi. And, I never looked back from that point. Africans in general who were like 100% African, who both of their parents were from Nigeria or both of their parents were from Africa, versus the ones that were like half, you know what I'm saying? So like we would do it'd be a lot of functions and things like that. And I always got that energy. And I was, for me, again, I went to Nigeria when I was really young, and, my dad didn't teach me how to speak, Igbo. There's a lot of things that I was disconnected with from my Nigerian side. My grandmother on my dad's side went to live with us for a period of time when I was growing up, and that was a real opportunity for me to get a little bit closer with her. But even still, there's language barriers. There's, it was just, I wasn't fully ingratiated into my Nigerian side. So, I think I always felt that energy from people that were 100% Nigerian. I always felt like, something there. But I always just embraced being who I was. I never really had, I was always confident because I think, one of the elements that my dad instilled in me that I think is very traditional Nigerians is just whatever you do, be the best at it, be a leader, be disciplined. He would threaten to take me to Nigeria like every year for boarding school, like damn near every year. If I if I had like one grade that I had a B+ in, or what, like one slip up on anything, like every year he would threaten to send me to boarding school in Nigeria, like literally every year. You know what I'm saying? So it was just one of those things where I always looked at it as like, be the best, no matter what you do, be a leader, be disciplined, and be comfortable being in your own skin. And I think that even from a young age, that always kind of stuck out with me. Like I never really had this pressure of being something else or feeling less than because of X, Y, and Z with my demographic or identity. That never was an issue for me. And so, fast forward to when I started my video production company, which is called Add Color. My whole motto with that was you have to add your uniqueness into the world because we all have something to offer, right? And that's just something I live by to this day. You're a uniquely talented individual. There's never been somebody like you in the history of the world, and there never will be somebody like you ever again. So, embrace that, make your mark, and add color.